What's up? There are top 3 attacking patterns that you can use to win standard opening positions like this. For example, in the current position, which is very standard, we can see that black is attacking this pawn on d4. The most common move for white to play would be knight f3, defending this pawn on d4, because white is unfamiliar with the first most important attacking pattern, which is to push your central pawn forward to attack this knight. At first, this doesn't seem like a big advantage for white because, well, it's just a one mover. But that helps you to launch your attack that you can continue developing gradually. For example, if the knight comes to e5, now you're playing bishop f4 and you're gaining one more tempo to bring your bishop into play after you seized more space in the center of the board. After knight g6, attacking this bishop, you drop it back. And now if black plays any move, let's say knight f6, you can already launch a winning attack with knight to b5, hitting this pawn on c7, and there is no way for black to defend it. You could see how easily you mounted these threats into a devastating attack. For example, if black tries knight to d5, defending the pawn that way, you can brutally sacrifice your queen, queen takes d5, and finish the game in style with this royal fork. Here's another similar situation. A lot of players would just develop their pieces somehow here playing white, but instead, you know that you can push your central pawn to attack this knight. Black does not really want to undevelop the knight back to its original square, and what else can they do otherwise? Your knight is controlling these central squares, and if the knight goes to the edge of the board, you can keep chasing it, and with g4 you just win this knight because your bishop takes away this square just as well. The second most common attacking pattern in an opening is a knight fork supported by the bishop. For example, in this position, white can jump knight b5, aiming knight takes c7, and as your bishop supports this attack, there is no way for black out. Well, they gotta sacrifice something, and you'll achieve a winning position anyway. So knight takes c7 is coming, which will fork the king as well as the rook, and that's how you win the game. That's the easiest and quickest form of attack that you can create in different openings. You're probably familiar with the same kind of an attacking pattern in the two knights game where you jump knight g5 aiming to capture this pawn, and that's one of the easy ways to devastate a beginner level opponent. Now let me show you how you can use this against even a seasoned chess player. Let's say he plays pawn to c5, which is a preferred choice of many advanced players, and then you play this mysterious move pawn to a3, preparing for your other pawn to move forward. They often go knight to c6 because that's what they play anyway, plus they think that it's top this move pawn to b4, although you play it anyway. Your opponent is annoyed by this pawn, and therefore he is likely to decide to trade and capture this pawn. But now after pawn to c3, the knight has to go, pawn d4, you create the threat of pushing the pawn forward. Remember our first attacking pattern, right? Pushing central pawns forward and drive away this knight. Once again, your opponent wants to stop that somehow, so he goes pawn d5. Now after this exchange of pawns, at first looks like black's position is absolutely fine. He's a pawn up, and it even looks like he's ahead in development. But now you start putting together the second attacking pattern, the knight fork supported by the bishop. So what you do is you play knight a3, aiming to go knight b5. It's not that easy to stop it, because even if they play a6, actually this pawn is pinned anyway, so it's not all that easy. Plus you can reroute your knight from here to c4 and b6 and fork black in the other way. In most cases they don't play a6 though, they play something else, some other development move. And basically almost any move here for black is loses. For example, they play e6, just trying to somehow open up this bishop. You just play knight b5, aiming for this fork, and if black tries to cover it somehow, you then go bishop f4, now you support this fork by the bishop, and so knight to c7 is coming, and black is defenseless, or at least he's gonna go down in a bad position. And here comes the third most common attacking pattern in an opening. Let's say we play some more or less standard opening moves. In positions like that, very often your opponent is tempted to play bishop g4, beating your knight down to the queen. What do you do in that case? Well, there's a very typical tactical operation. You first sacrifice your bishop on f7, which is a temporary sacrifice, because on the next move you play knight to g5, and that's the point of your idea. That's a check to the king, plus a discovered attack of this bishop. Thus you're able to gain your bishop back with interest. You gain this pawn, you opened up the king, now knight e6 is coming, and white is just winning. Not many players know that you can use the same attacking pattern against a weak knight. Even in this most common chess opening position, when black goes knight f6, going for the two knights game, you can play d4, attacking this pawn, and after he captures, you push the pawn forward, attacking this knight. Very often they'll go knight g4, and now they have this handy knight on g4, and you can exploit the very same tactics. Bishop takes f7 first, followed by knight to g5, check to the king, and on the next move you're going to pick up this knight on g4. Although in this particular case the position remains to be relatively unclear, yet in a blitz it's much easier to play here as white because you're just attacking the king, and for black it's much harder to figure out what to do. Also, I want to bring up a quick update. There is one thing that I've been working on over the last half a year, roughly speaking. I've decided to compile all the best, most effective methods that help my students progress the most into a single course. It's not ready yet, but it's almost ready. And if you want to be notified when the course is available, you can leave your email by clicking the link below the video. Of course, it's free, so that I'll be able to notify you when the course is available, and you'll be able to get it as a part of the Igor Nation with all the cool bonuses and earlier than everyone else. So I think you'll enjoy it, and if you're interested, drop your email below. And if you want to know the single most important positional concept for you to win, check out this video right here. Have a great rest of the day.